The thing you're reading this through right now, your phone screen, your window, the lenses in your glasses, all of it started as beach sand. Not refined sand, not processed sand. The same coarse, grey-brown grit you'd kick off your shoes after a walk by the water. And the first person who made that transformation happen didn't mean to. Around 3500 BC, potters working kilns in ancient Mesopotamia noted something strange inside their furnaces. A thin, hard, translucent glaze where ash and sand had fused under extreme heat. They had no name for it, but they kept it. Nature had been making glass far longer than any human potter ever could. When lightning, carrying up to 1 billion volts, strikes a sandy beach, the heat at the point of contact reaches around 1800 degrees Celsius, fusing the sand instantly into a hollow glass tube called a fulgurite. Ancient people found these and assumed they were gifts from the sky, which, in a way, they were. Volcanoes did the same thing at scale, producing obsidian, a natural glass so sharp that modern researchers have confirmed its fractured edges are thinner than the finest steel scalpel ever manufactured. Obsidian was the first precision cutting tool in human history, and nobody built it. It just appeared. That tells you something important about what glass actually is, not an invention, but a capture. Humans learning to reproduce what lightning and volcanoes had been doing for millions of years. The problem was doing it on purpose. The ancient legend credited to Pliny the Elder goes like this: Phoenician merchants, camped on a beach along the Syrian coast, propped their cooking pots on blocks of natron, a naturally occurring soda ash, and lit a fire beneath them. The heat melted the natron into the sand beneath it. When the fire died and the ground cooled, they found a hard, glassy residue where the two materials had fused. Whether or not that specific story is true, the chemistry behind it is exactly right. Silica from the sand, sodium oxide from the soda ash, heat above 1700 degrees Celsius, and you get glass. Early glass was crude, thick, bubbly, murky, the color of a foggy lake. The Romans changed that partially. By around the 1st century, Roman glassworkers had developed glassblowing, a hollow iron pipe dipped into molten glass, then blown by a human breath, inflating the glowing material into a bubble that could be shaped into vessels. Glassblowing made production fast enough to supply an empire, but the glass was still cloudy, still tinted, and for 1,000 years, a window wasn't something you saw through clearly. It was a status symbol that announced, quietly, I am rich enough to own frozen light. Then Venice locked the door. By the 1200s, Venetian glassmakers were the most coveted craftsmen in Europe, so the Senate made a decision that was equal parts honor and imprisonment. In 1291, every furnace in Venice was ordered to relocate to the island of Murano, officially for fire safety. The real reason was control. Murano glassmakers could wear swords and marry into nobility, but leaving the island without permission carried the penalty of death. The Venetians were protecting a monopoly worth more than most kingdoms. What those craftsmen eventually produced was called cristallo, a glass so clear that contemporaries described it as solid air. Cristallo was achieved by adding manganese dioxide to the melt, neutralizing the iron impurities that gave earlier glass its greenish tint. It was the first truly transparent manufactured material in human history. And this is where most people think the story levels off. Clear glass, nice windows done. That's wrong. Clear glass made precise lenses possible, and lenses rewrote what humans could actually perceive. By the late 1600s, Antony van Leeuwenhoek was grinding glass fine enough to see individual bacteria, an entire invisible world that had existed alongside humanity for all of history without anyone knowing. At almost the same moment, Galileo was pointing a glass-lensed telescope at Saturn and seeing, for the first time, that the planet had rings. In the same century, using the same material, humans discovered germs and galaxies. One material rewrote science twice over, simultaneously. But there's a gap between Leeuwenhoek's microscope and your phone screen that most people never think about. Your phone screen is Gorilla Glass, and it didn't come from the glass-making tradition at all. It came from aerospace. In the 1960s, Corning was developing chemically strengthened glass for fighter jet cockpits that needed to resist impact and pressure at speed. The process, called ion exchange, involves submerging the glass in molten potassium salt at around 400 degrees Celsius. Sodium ions near the surface migrate out, and larger potassium ions migrate in to take their place. Because potassium ions are bigger, they compress the glass surface under enormous stress, making it dramatically harder to crack. The result is a surface that survives drops, keys, coins, and daily punishment without shattering. It sat in a filing cabinet for 40 years before anyone thought to put it on a consumer device. When Apple came to Corning in 2007, the glass already existed. It had just been waiting. The most recognized consumer product in the world runs on glass engineered to protect fighter pilots. But the most remarkable glass ever manufactured isn't on any phone or in any window. It's underground, threaded through ocean floors and across continents. Fiber optic cables carry data as light through strands of glass roughly the width of a human hair, and the glass used in modern telecommunications fiber is so optically pure that a window of it 70 miles thick would still transmit light clearly. The material had to become transparent enough that light could travel for miles through it before losing meaningful strength. And that's exactly what it does, carrying data and calls and financial transactions across entire ocean basins at close to the speed of light. Sand is the second most consumed natural resource on Earth after water. The entire digital world runs through strands of melted beach, buried in the cold dark of the ocean floor. Lightning hit sand 1 billion times before anyone understood what it was making. And somewhere in Mesopotamia, a potter scraped a strange glaze off the inside of his kiln and kept it.